trust your intuition. When you buy something and you bring it to your place, and all of a sudden you look at it and you have a strange feeling and it doesn't feel right or something's off, trust that feeling and have it checked.
Welcome to Happy Home, your space clearing podcast where my mother and I explore the world of space clearing. Join us as we share real-life case studies and success stories of removing negative energies, spirits, poltergeists from people's homes, helping them create a harmonious and balanced living environment. Whether you're into energy work, spirituality, feng shui, or simply want to learn more about space clearing techniques, this podcast is for you. Tune in every week and discover the power of space clearing for yourself. Subscribe now to our podcast and start your journey towards a happier, healthier, and more vibrant home.
And we are live, and you won't believe who's here with me again.
Hi, Lais. It's such a pleasure. Third time's a charm.
Oh, Caresse. So first of all, I want the listeners to know that's not your real name, but of course we are keeping you anonymous for work reasons. And I also want the listeners to know there's 2 episodes they have to listen to. So if you're listening to this now and you haven't heard of Caresse's stories in South Sudan before, you will find part 1 and part 2 in my podcast. And I really encourage you to listen to those first, just so you understand what Caresse has been through in the last, is it year or year and a half now?
Almost 2 years.
2 years. Oh my goodness. Yes. So Caresse is working for an international organization. She's based in South Sudan, and we've been talking already a lot about black magic and spirits. So there's so much depth into all the story. Today we have a little episode that is about a painting that came with attached spirits. So let's call it a haunted painting. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Oh my God, I can't wait to share this story because the universe sent me a client with the same problems with a haunted painting in her home. 1 week after you, I heard about another haunted painting. So I think it's an important topic to be discussed because as we buy art, we don't know what kind of energies we are bringing into our homes, which is what happened to you.
Yes, absolutely. I've been sensitive towards this because in the past I had some masks from Africa and somebody said, oh, the energy is not so good. So I had them checked out. And one of them in particular was really not good because it was like a little figure sitting on top of a bigger figure. And the person was like, don't you see? It's like suppression and you are suppressing yourself. So after that, I thought I'll be more conscious, but I didn't associate the same thing with paintings, to be honest.
Yes.
So this was a real surprise.
It was indeed, even for me, because let me just put this into context. I was not sleeping well one night and I was playing with my mobile, which I know isn't very mindful, but I got a message from you, and because we are also friends, I opened the message. And then you were distressed asking about a painting and added a picture of the painting, and I nearly fell off my bed because it was such bad energy. I got afraid, and my partner was next to me, so I couldn't wake him up. I just put the mobile away, but I couldn't sleep anymore at night. And first thing in the morning, I had to message you. Do you want to share with the listeners why you contacted me about this painting?
Yes, absolutely. So this painting was in the place of my neighbor and friend. And I was sitting there with her. I think it was a Monday night, just sitting there, doing nothing. All of a sudden, I've looked at the painting before, but it never caught my eye. But that evening, it did catch my eye. It was almost like it was calling me. It's really strange because according to her, the painting had been there 3 months, but I never really registered like it did that night. So I registered the painting, and then she said, oh, this painting, I'm so annoyed. I want to get rid of it. Why is it here? So I asked her, well, you don't like the painting. Do you want to get rid of it? She said, yes, absolutely. And since I liked the paintings, I thought it was beautiful, very expressive, very emotional, and I liked it. So I said, well, if you don't like it, maybe I'll take it off your hands. And she said, yes, please do.
Mm-hmm.
And I immediately took it that evening and I took it in my apartment. So that was a Monday night. And I went to sleep right away. The next day, there was some weird situation where I had to be in a town hall because I had to be the resource person. The same person asked me, can you post something for me anonymously? I just said, I'm not really comfortable doing that. She blew up at me, the person that gave me the painting. This whole thing went to the point where she blocked me. And in the evening, Tuesday evening, I was sitting in my place. I was looking at the painting and I just started crying and I couldn't stop. And then I look at the painting again and I'm like, it's a person crying. I
Mm-hmm.
saw it for the first time only then that this painting is about somebody crying. And so I was like, this is so weird. So I couldn't stop crying. And that's not me. I'm not like this. So that's when I took a picture and I sent it to you because I had a really weird feeling about this. I'm like, this is weird. I think that's what I messaged you, like, can you check this out? Because I can't stop crying. And this is a painting about somebody crying. So something is weird. So, oh, yes.
Exactly. Yes. And immediately when I received the image, I knew there's something very wrong with it. In the morning, once I got up, I meditated, zoned into this painting. And just so the listeners know, I would assume 5, 6, 7-year-old African boy, maybe?
Yes.
More or less. Crying, yes. But that was not the problem. The problem was that as I connected to this painting, I saw 3 boy soldiers who had been killed in a war. They were very upset and attached to this painting. So I assumed the painter was painting a boy who either had been a boy soldier or who lost friends or siblings due to war. There was all this pain of the war and severe trauma attached to this painting. I connected to them, I talked to them, tried to soothe them and send them into the light. And also what I witnessed was that they have been drugged while being boy soldiers. So whoever had employed them, drugged them, and it was just horrible, the poor things. Eventually I got them to the light and I started clearing the picture itself, just making sure that no other spirits can attach to it, making sure there's no connection to the painter who probably also went through trauma. Probably it was like therapy for him to paint something like this, to navigate what was happening in his country.
Yeah. So I think you actually said 6 people were attached
6?
to the paintings.
Oh, gosh.
And you also said that one of them was standing behind me, trying to strangle me with a metal string. Remember that?
Yes, I
And
remember.
I was so freaked out. I
Yeah.
was so freaked out because I've been trying to keep my space in South Sudan, black magic, bad energy, everything free for the longest time. And here I'm sitting and you're telling me that I just brought into my place a painting that carried 6 not good spirits, and one of them was trying to strangle me with a metal string.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, great, thanks. So I was like, why did I do that to myself? But it's weird because, like I said, this painting had been there for 3 months. I've been to that place so many times in those 3 months, and it never caught my eye. And then it did that evening. So somehow I feel like it had to be. I can't describe it in any different way, but it had to be that I took this painting. And so, yes, after the session with you, I thought, okay, let me give this some time. Let me look at the painting because honestly, the painting is beautiful. So I was hoping that it could just be neutralized and I could keep it as memory of South Sudan, of my crazy day in
Mm-hmm.
South Sudan. And that's what it is now. It feels neutral. It's still a very emotional painting because when you look at it, some people apparently thought the boy was laughing. Let me tell you, your skills of deciphering emotion is not that great. It's definitely a boy crying. So now it's just a boy crying, standing for all the pain people go through in South Sudan, which is a very difficult place. So I look at it and it's good for me to see that, yes, this is difficult. And that's why I'm here to try to help a little. What's really funny, so this painting, then I try to find out what's the story, how did this painting end up in our camp? So we live
Yeah.
in a camp where in South Sudan. Then I realized that it was a painting bought by some guy I know for his girlfriend at the time. I met him a few weeks after, and even though he doesn't believe in these things, I was like, so, I got your painting. What do you mean you got the painting? I'm like, yeah, I got the painting. And let me tell you, that painting was difficult. So I just described in a few sentences what had happened. And he was like, no way. And he said, I don't believe in this, but this is crazy. The day that I bought the painting, I was with my ex-girlfriend. I bought it for her. That's the day when she was the worst that she's ever been. And afterwards, everything went to pieces. The
Oh my
relationship went to
God.
pieces. He was like, wow. So actually, I don't believe in this, but this is really strange what you're telling me. I'm like, yeah, I'm not surprised. You basically bought as a gift for your girlfriend a painting with very bad energy. So no wonder it screwed up all of it. Then I started to think, what did it do to my neighbor who had this? So basically, the ex-girlfriend gave the painting to my neighbor. She didn't want it anymore after she broke up. So she forced it on my neighbor, which is how I ended up with it. But my neighbor is already a bit troubled, I would say. So I'm like, this painting stayed in her place for 3 months. It must have really made it so much worse
Yes.
because in only one night, it derailed my life and it put me to the point where I couldn't stop crying. So I'm like, wow, she had the painting for 3 months. Wow.
Yes.
That's the story of the
Yes.
painting.
And then obviously it caused, well, maybe it didn't cause a breakup because there must have been issues in the relationship, but the relationship did end after the painting came in, and then the friendship between you and this neighbor ended.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's just incredible what power such a negative painting has
Yeah,
on
exactly.
everyone.
And who would think that when we choose a painting, like I have another painting in my place from Uganda, and it's very positive, nothing bad from it. But we go and we choose art sometimes and we look at things. And how could we ever imagine such a scenario? We can't.
No.
I never thought of it. I thought about it with the statues after I hear because you have these statues in Africa with the nails in it, like the voodoo doll thing. Obviously, that's not a positive thing, but a painting? I never associated anything like this with it.
Yes. I think it probably happens more than we think, especially if you buy art that makes you feel something.
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
stronger emotions you have, maybe it's because there's something attached to it, or there's still negative energy from the painter who went through a troubled time. Yes, because depending on the technique the painters use, if it's watercolors or oil, which is also a fluid, we know that water carries frequencies, right?
yeah.
And so the state of mind of the painter will always be transferred onto the painting itself through the medium of the fluids.
Themselves into the painting, right?
So we get exposed to the frequency of the painter at that time. And if it's worse, then even spirits were attached because they are also drawn to a certain energy. So, this painting was the energy of war and trauma and death,
So
and what the soldiers
I
were attracted to.
How do you think the other spirits got attached to that?
Because of the frequency, the theme, they could feel that. Because that's their same pain as well. It's their story. And I can only encourage the listeners to Google what's been happening both in Sudan and South Sudan, just to get a historical context, which is not what we are going to dive into here in this podcast, but there's been so many wars, right?
Yeah, so many child.
So many child soldiers. As I Googled it, many of them indeed were drugged. It was how they operated. So, no, it's really troubling and sad. I did a healing for South Sudan after the painting, extending healing energies to the land and the trauma stored on the land. It is deeply saddening. It's not just the war, everything is affected. The whole land, the earth is affected, the animals, everything is interconnected. So it's just so sad when wars happen.
Wow. I had no idea that somebody can paint a painting with an emotion, with a history, and by painting this can attract spirits who went through the same thing. I had no idea.
It's exactly like, yeah, absolutely crazy. So we do have to be mindful what kind of art we bring in. And if people are not intuitive themselves, or they're just not sure, because I know you are intuitive, sometimes it happens. It could have happened to me. I mean, I don't go into a store and start meditating on each painting I want to buy, and then I just buy something, and then you notice at home something is off.
Maybe to just tell people, trust your intuition. When you buy something and you bring it to your place, and all of a sudden you look at it and you have a strange feeling and it doesn't feel right or something's off, trust that feeling and have it checked.
Exactly. That's the best thing. I will have another client on the podcast about this painting situation. Her painting was also gifted by the husband of a friend, and he was a raging alcoholic. And so she had this painting in her home, and I will tell the story on the podcast, but it wasn't good what happened. Let's just put it this way. It's really insane. But yes, I think we covered everything that happened with the painting and your reaction.
I think we covered it.
I think it was an important thing to share with the listeners, just to be mindful of everything they bring into their homes, recent paintings, all of it.
And we had to continue our South Sudan sequence.
Absolutely. There had to be a trilogy. So now we have it. It's been such a pleasure and so great to catch up again about this incident and to record it. Thank you so much for being open about recording these stories.
Thank you for giving the space. This is important because I think it's good for people to know about these things.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for the listeners and have a beautiful day. Goodbye.
Bye.